Yes, welcome into SportsBit Betting Insight today, Thursday, June 16th. Paulie and Teddy, big game breakdown. You know where we're going. Game 6, NBA Finals. Can the Warriors go back-to-back? Tigers and Royals, and we finish out the AFC South team preview with the Tennessee Titans, and of course, play of the day. Bad beats and bad bets. Let's start with a bad beat. This one was vicious. Cubs, Nationals, 2-1 in the ninth, Teddy. Then all hell broke loose.
It sure did. First, Rizzo hits a two-run dinger for Chicago, and then the Cubs blew two save chances, one in the ninth, the other in the 12th. Hector Rondon now back-to-back blown saves. He had 0 blown saves prior to the last two games. Then Trevor Cahill blew it in the 12th. Yeah, this is the truth of it, Paulie. When you're playing unders in baseball or any sport, you're going to have your share of tough beats. This one was pretty brutal. Of course, the Nats now with a club record 9 pinch hit homers already, and it's only the second week of June. You think that can go on forever, Paul?
No, that'll stop. That'll stop, but that was a hell of a game. And the Cubs, it was wild. Nats take the lead, they blow it. Cubs take the lead, they blow it twice. A bad beat for the...
Well, all the talk after that game, Paul, was about that playoff atmosphere.
Yeah, right.
You know, and it really was a playoff intensity ball game. Here's my question for you. Those going to be the last two teams standing in the National League, I should say?
Giants are better than the Nationals.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one. I like San Fran and Chicago to meet in the NL Championship Series. And in my mind, those are the two best teams in baseball.
Yeah, the postseason experience and Mad Bum in a big game, forget about it.
Yeah, and plus you got Dusty Baker, who will sooner or later, he'll start to screw things up. That's what he does.
Bad beat for sports books. We've been telling you about this on SportsBit. Here we go again. Kershaw for the Dodgers. Last 9 Kershaw games, 8 times. Dodgers in the under parlay is hit. The other time the side hit, but the total pushed. The Dodgers 13-1 with Kershaw starts, 21-31 when he doesn't start, when it's others. 133 strikeouts on the season, 7 walks.
Yeah, I mean, Kershaw's having one of the sickest campaigns I can recall. I mean, we've seen pitchers that get into this rhythm. You know, Pedro had a year like this, like 15 years ago. You know, you bring back Doc Gooden. I'm thinking of just the epic years. Roger Clemens had one. You know, Bob Gibson. I mean, that's how far you got to go back for some of these. Kershaw's in the midst of one of them right now. That being said, one consolation for the books. You know, yeah, they're getting beat up on the Dodgers and the under, but the truth of it is, by charging these high prices, you're not getting any bargains on Clayton Kershaw right now. At least the parlay payouts are kept relatively low.
Hey, Monday, it's Kershaw against Strasburg from D.C. I'm looking forward to that. Another bad beat. The books got hammered. Padres went from plus $1.10 to minus $1.30.
Yeah, they finally win a series closeout game. I mean, remember, we talked about this. And basically, we're going to bring up a bunch of stuff in the next couple of minutes that we've talked about on SportsBit. If you've been watching SportsBit, boy, I hope you're making money in MLB right now because we've been giving you some pretty good info that's been cashing in. But this is one that we talked about, I believe it was on Monday's show, where the Padres had gone 1-19 in the closeout games of series. Well, now they're 2-19, finally, with that series win over the Marlins. And the books got hammered. The wise guys were all over this one. As you mentioned, plus 110, all the way up to minus 130.
And another bad beat. We don't talk much about first 5 unders, but how about this Twins-Angels game, Teddy?
Yeah, I mean, it kind of stood out. You know, and of course, the only reason I brought it up here is because I was sweating the game myself. You know, I had to play on the over. But it's one of those games that's scoreless through 3.5. You're like, oh, man, we're in trouble. You know, and then, of course, there were 8 runs scored in the next 3 half innings, including a 5-run bottom of the 5th for L.A. The over 4.5 first half line, never in doubt. But, as we talked about on SportsBit yesterday, as we may talk about on SportsBit tomorrow, the Twins, right now, 10-0-1 to the over in their last 11 games. Total streak don't get noticed by the betting public. They don't get noticed by the betting marketplace. There was a ton of under money in that Minnesota game last night. This is a streak now, again, that hasn't lost in the last 11 games. I think it's worth riding.
Absurd. Absolutely, you ride that. And with Pujols struggling, how bad does that contract look?
Pretty brutal. But, of course, they needed Cron to step up last night, and he did. What do you have? 3 hits, 3 RBIs. Pujols actually had a decent night last night between them. The two of them had 4 RBIs and 4 runs scored. But, once Minnesota's bullpen gets involved, it can get pretty ugly. How bad is Pujols? And we knew Pujols' contract was going to be bad the day he signed it. Everybody knew Pujols' contract was going to go bad the day he signed it. You don't pay aging sluggers that type of money. Moreno did, and the Angels are going to, pay the price. L.A. won last night, but, they're not even a 500 team this year. I don't think they'll be a 500 team by the end of the season.
Here's a couple bad bets. The Syndicates bet the Pirates, and they bet Jeff Locke. Never had a chance.
No. The Mets were up 3-0 by the bottom of the first, and the Pirates never got to 3. Mets bet down from, it wasn't a huge move, -190 to -170, but this is one that the Syndicates definitely got wrong, looking for that value on the Pirates.
And the Royals beat the Indians again.
And remember, we talked about Kluber on yesterday's sports bit. Cleveland never had the lead, and Kluber with the lead versus when he's tied or trailing, a huge discrepancy, huge dichotomy. Check out yesterday's show archive for a full breakdown of that. But, he gave up 2 runs in the first and it only got worse. And this is an impressive sweep for Kansas City. And it was a payback for Cleveland's home sweep. What was that, about a week and a half ago?
Uh-huh.
That was one that we told you might happen on the weekend preview edition of Sports Pit.
What is going on with Sonny Gray?
He's no good.
Yeah,
or maybe they're leaving
now.
him in too long. Because Gray's having the problem with bad innings. He had a really bad, with the fifth or the sixth last night. I can't recall. He blew a 5-run lead. He gave up a pair. It was the sixth. He gave up a pair of dingers in that 6th inning, and it's just not pretty for Oakland and Sonny Gray. And again, the bad teams in the American League are gonna get beaten up. Sonny Gray right now, he may have been at an ace level last year. Him and his team are not an ace level right now.
Well, we love this show and we love sports betting. Who else is going to talk about the Reds and the Braves? Reds get 2 in the top of the 13th, and the Braves answer with 3 to win it.
Oh, my goodness. And this one we have to go on about because this wasn't the Reds' bullpen falling apart.
Uh-huh.
All right, the Reds' bullpen came in and threw great. They threw 6 straight scoreless innings. They kept the team in play until they took a 2-run lead in the 13th. And then Brian Price, I understand Alfredo Simon was the only guy left. I understand that, but Price thought it would be a good time to give Alfredo Simon some work. It was his first relief appearance since 2013. Simon has been in the midst of a miserable campaign, arguably the worst starting pitcher in baseball this season. That's why he was demoted to the bullpen. Well, that first relief appearance in 2013, let's just put it this way. It did not go well, Paulie.
All right, that was a lot of fun. A lot of bad beats, a lot of bad bets. Up next, we're going to Game 6 NBA Finals. And we got the Titans coming up with the team preview on SportsBit. Betting Insight today on SBRPicks.com.
Always on the go? Bet365 has one of the top mobile platforms in today's market. Sign up today and don't let your busy life keep you out of the game.
Here we go. Game 6, NBA Finals. Warriors and the Cavs. Cavs 2. 207.5 the total. Live odds. Sportsbookreview.com. So Iggy and the entire Warriors team now happy that Green comes back. Now they can get back to playing their roles. And not only is Green back for Game 6, he's talking trash. He said if he would have played in Game 5, they would have won, Teddy.
Yeah, maybe he should shut his mouth and actually try to win a title. But look, and one thing that we really learned, that was a lesson to me at least, because we hadn't seen a whole lot of Golden State without Draymond Green this year, or certainly here in the postseason. He only missed a 1 game in the regular season. That was a loss at Denver.
Yeah.
And it wasn't a game that I remembered watching, But watching them without Green, it made it very clear. Individual defense is not their strength. Mm-hmm. Team defense is. And they didn't have it without Green in Game 5. They couldn't stop LeBron. They couldn't stop Irving from going one-on-one and beating them. And look, Irving showed his talent. He scored 41 points in 39 minutes. So did LeBron, 41 points in that ball game. But I got my questions, Paulie. Even though the Cavs won, and they won going away, and they blew them out, I'm not convinced that Cleveland really played particularly good basketball in that ball game.
Hey, I'm totally with you. That was hero ball, but it worked. Kyrie was taking bad shots, and Clay was playing good defense. They just happened to go in. If they play again like that tonight, they're going to get beat. There were only 7 assists on the 33 field goals made by Kyrie and LeBron. No ball movement, individual moves against a defense that was vulnerable, Teddy.
Yeah, it sure was. And look, it wasn't just on defense that Golden State broke down. Their offense broke down. Their ball movement broke down without Green. Iggy tried to step into the role where he had 6 assists. But when Iguodala has more rebounds than Curry and Thompson combined, or more assists, I should say, than Curry and Thompson combined, that offense bogs down. And look, Curry and Thompson, they're great shooters. They're not necessarily the greatest creators. They only had 5 assists with 5 turnovers in over 80 minutes of floor time. But, of course, Klay Thompson, he stroked it. Yep. He stroked it, Paul. He hit 37, and he's got a guy with ice water in his veins as a shooter at clutch times here in the playoffs. We all remember what he did in Game 6 at OKC. That's what it takes to quiet a crowd on the road.
Well, he was great in the first half. And the problem with the shooting in Game 5, Curry and Thompson not accustomed to playing over 40 minutes and having a bigger role without Green. Now look at this graphic. Game 5, Curry and Thompson on offense. First half, 12 of 20 for 39 points. Second half, 7 of 21 for 23 points.
Yeah, I mean, they stunk in the second half. Let's be real. It wasn't Golden State playing good ball. It was Golden State in those occasional spots where the Warriors play bad basketball. Now, I'm not expecting anyone on Golden State to play these type of minutes tonight. I don't think we're going to see the 40, 42 minutes in that range from anyone because Green's return will solve the rotation issues. But, of course, now your buddy Steve Kerr's got to make a call. Does he start Green at the 5 with Iguodala on the floor? Or does he try to steal a couple of early minutes from somebody else, whether it's Festus or Varejao or Spates?
Yeah.
And that's an interesting question, Paul. What do you think?
It's a no-brainer, and I know this guy sometimes thinks he's too cool for school. It is a no-brainer to come out with the best lineup in the NBA and put the death lineup on the floor from Jump Street. If I have these numbers, you do too. And when Kerr does, if Green is if they're plus 55 or 56 with that guy playing center, get the death lineup out there and try to stomp on him. And what he did in Game 5 was a joke. You do not play 11 guys in the first quarter of a closeout game when you're trying to repeat. That was a horrible job by Kerr, and I think sometimes he thinks he's the smartest guy in the room, but he blew it in Game 5, and he'll blow it in Game 6 if he doesn't put the death lineup out there as much as possible with Bogut out for the rest of the series.
That being said, I mean, look, Bogut wasn't a stat stuffer by any stretch of the imagination, and he had negative plus-minus minutes for the series, and at times he looked lost. That being said, Bogut is the guy that they've been going out there with. There's a consistency that he brings for those early game flows. I would not start Green at the 5 because that's not where they've been starting him. They've been doing better with that lineup against opposing reserves, and as the game flows a little bit, I'd start Festus or I'd start Varejao or maybe even Spates.
No,
give him a number of different looks.
No.
But I wouldn't start Green. That's just my take.
I wouldn't. Spates doesn't go near the court in a huge game like this. He was awful. He couldn't make a shot, and he can't guard you. So I don't want him near the floor. Hey, Warriors, very important. 14-1 off a loss this year.
Yeah, and that's definitely worth noting. And there's another point. Okay, is Golden State a dynasty? Is this team capable of winning multiple championships? Obviously they're potentially going to win their second straight one here. Are we talking about a team that's going to have 3, 4, 5 titles when all's said and done? Because if you think that Golden State is that type of team, let's say the Warriors are the Bulls, or the early 2000 Lakers. Can you imagine getting +2 with MJ and Phil in a Game 6? Can you imagine getting +2 with Kobe and Shaq in a Game 6 on the road? Just something to think about. If the Warriors aren't the Bulls or the Lakers, if the team's not a dynasty, it's a very different story. And obviously, we've seen Cleveland play very well on this floor. They've only lost 1 game on their home floor throughout the entirety of the postseason. But no one's talking about the Cavs, a potential dynasty. People are talking about the Warriors, a potential dynasty. And if Golden State is that dynasty, well, +2 looks to me at least to be a fairly attractive way.
Yep, exact same scenario as last year. Can they win it in 6 at Cleveland? Game number 2, liveoddsportsbookreview.com. Tigers and the Royals. It's Verlander going for the Tigers against Duffy. Tigers $1.15 on the road, 7.5 to the over. The Royals turned this momentum around with a huge series against Cleveland. Back in a tie for first place in the AL Central and 22-7 at home. 9 in a row at home, another showdown series. And after a disappointing season last year, Teddy, Verlander is healthy and throwing comfortably. But let's be real here. He's just a number 2 or number 3 guy now.
Yeah, and I mean, again, Justin Verlander, they're paying him number 1 money, and they will be. But at this stage of his career, solid, not spectacular. You look at his numbers, 6-5, 3.77 ERA, The FIP, 3.45, the XFIP of 3.89, the Sierra, 3.61. All in that pretty good, but not blow you away rating. And it shows also that his ERA and his advanced metric stats are fairly comparable. This is a good ballpark necessary for a pitcher like Verlander, but it's also worth noting his fastball, career low in terms of velocity. His ground ball rate, also a career low. So if Verlander's not hitting his spots, he's in danger of getting roughed up.
So you have Duffy, who since he came into the league has been praying for command and consistency. Looks like his prayers have been answered.
Yeah, finally. Again, nothing's going to jump off the table. And the markets really don't like Danny Duffy. At least not yet. His 2-1 record, 2.94 ERA is only over 49 innings pitched. Then again, if we prorate Duffy with enough innings to qualify, the one thing that stands out, man, look at that swinging strike percentage. He's ahead of Kershaw, okay, and Scherzer, and Syndergaard, and Jose Fernandez. Duffy, number one in all of baseball in that very key advanced metric stats. And of course, you look at the numbers here for 2016, way better than they've been over the course of his career. His strikeout rate and his walk rate are on pace to improve by one of the best margins in MLB history. Now remember, this guy started the season in long relief. Now he's had 6 starts, and those first couple of starts, they were just trying to get 3-4 innings out of him while he built up his arm strength. But in the 6 starts, the ERA is 2.90, 11 strikeouts per 9 inning, only 1.5 walks per 9 innings. And let's note that ERA for a minute. 31 innings as a starter. Duffy's given up 10 runs. But 5 of them came in 1 inning when he carried a shutout into the 6th against the White Sox. And remember, he was just trying to build his arm strength. They left him in there too long. Yeah, Ned Yost left him in, and then he gave up 5 runs in that 6th when he got tired. First time all season he'd worked into the 6th. Duffy has been very, very effective in relatively short stint.
Good numbers there. Up next, we finish off the AFC South with the Tennessee Titans, and we're back to the Tigers and Royals with the play of the day on SportsBit, betting insight today.
Go to SBRodds.com. Browse, compare, and shop live odds available at top online sportsbooks.
Wrapping up the AFC South, NFC South starts on Friday. We'll start with the Atlanta Falcons. Titans, over under 5.5 wins. Juice on the over makes it pretty much a 6. 2015, 3-13 straight up, 4-11-1 ATS, 9-6-1 to the over. The 3 wins, they blew out the Bucs in week 1. Then they were overvalued for the next couple months. They also beat the Saints and Jacksonville by 3. Those are the only wins. 7 losses by 2 touchdowns or more, Teddy.
Yeah, I mean, let's be honest. This team was god-awful last year. There was nothing to like about Tennessee. And that opening day win against the Bucs was a disaster for anyone who believed the Titans' performance in that game. Because as you mentioned, they blew them out there. And then Tampa went on and covered a bunch of spreads. And Tennessee basically didn't. They covered, 3 spreads for the entirety of the rest of the season. Now, the mainstream stats said the problem was all on offense. 30th ranked offense, 12th ranked defense. Of course, those are mainstream stats based on yardage number. The reason that their defensive numbers look so reasonable was at least in part because they were minus 14 in turnovers. That was number 31 in the NFL. And when you're turning the ball over, opponents don't have long fields to travel to score touchdowns against you. Hence, the better than average defensive numbers. But obviously, the mainstream numbers in that regard, I'm not buying. And we talk about schedule a little bit here, Paulie. Last year, they faced one of the weaker slates. They had this miserable record against a very weak group of opponents. Now, the 2016 schedule, based on this year's win totals, it's tougher than last year. It's a near league average slate. Of course, they play all 4 teams from the NFC North, all 4 teams from the AFC West. There are 2 extra games. At least they get a break here. Miami and Cleveland. The fact that they have those 2 opponents on their schedule is a big part, not a huge part, but at least a legitimate part of why we've seen so much over money come in on Tennessee. The markets believe those are 2 teams the Titans are supposed to be good enough to beat.
I hated this move. You have a young quarterback trying to build around him, and you promote Malarkey, who as an interim was 2-7? That's ridiculous.
Malarkey went 9-7 in his first year as a head coach in Buffalo in 2004. That was his first head coaching gig. We were saying, oh, maybe watch out for this guy. All right. Well, he's had 3 seasons as head coach since. He's gone 9-32. And all 3 of the teams that he was on, at least the first 2, they moved on from Malarkey rather quickly. We're like, oh, this guy will turn it out. Oh, let's give him the benefit of the doubt. They're like, see ya. Bye, Felicia. Don't let the door hit you in the ass. That's what happened, And now here in Tennessee, they're like, oh, yeah, here, let's give you the keys. And look, Malarkey has had success as an offense coordinator, as a play caller. He was a good play caller in Miami, in Pittsburgh, and Atlanta. But you read some of the stuff about what he wants to do with this offense, Paul, and sometimes it's a little bit of a head scratcher.
Yeah, what do you think that what the plans to do with Mariota?
Well, the number one thing they're talking about, and this is coming from multiple sources. Let's look at the Twitter tweet, the Twitter tweet right here from Paul Kaharski, saying that Mariota is going to be under center more than he was last year, and more than he will be in the shotgun. Of course, he's a guy who played nothing but shotgun in college.
Yep.
Now, when you talk about Malarkey, I got a couple of good quotes right here. He's calling the offense exotic smash mouth. Quote, opponents are going to know that we're going to be very hard to defend, and it's going to be a physical football game. When all is said and done, they're going to know they have been in a fight. Malarkey talking about his staff. I hired guys who like to win, and they like to win by beating the hell out of people. That's why I hired them. So we can expect one, exotic smash mouth. I remember the offense he ran in Pittsburgh, more than a decade ago, might have been called an exotic smash mouth offense. They had some success there. I'm not convinced that necessarily works in the 2016 NFL, and particularly when you're taking your quarterback out of his comfort zone.
Yes, all true there. Big O-line upgrade. They take Conklin in the first round. They signed Ben Jones, free agent from Houston. Also, there's hope that Mariota can develop without being killed. Look at twice as many sacks, 38, as touchdown passes, 19 as a rookie. They drafted Derrick Henry and also Kevin Dodd. And I know you like their trade, the trade to the Rams to get all those picks.
Well, of course, you have to like that trade for the long-term benefit of the franchise. I mean, look, they didn't need a quarterback. They got their quarterback last year. So here, the number 1 pick, they got 2 number 1s, 2 number 2s, and 2 number 3s for it. I mean, it's spread out over a couple years, but that's a big talent upgrade for a team that had holes all over the place. But when you have holes all over the place, Paul, one thing you don't do, you don't trade for a $6 million running back. They traded for DeMarco Murray. Then they draft Derrick Henry. It doesn't make any sense to me. I know it doesn't make any sense to you.
That was stupid. Completely stupid. Why? And it doesn't make any sense. Throwing money away, and I know you're down on the running back position big time. One more move. Rasputin, can't get rid of him. Matt Castle. They signed Castle, and they released Mettenberger. What do you think of the total here? Over, under, early lean?
5.5. I can't bet Tennessee over. They were a miserable team last year. They look like one of the worst teams in the NFL again this year. I can only bet them under right now. And especially if you find a 6. Asking this team to win 7 games, not something I'm willing to do.
All right, intriguing division tomorrow. NFC South, we start with the Falcons. Money time! Play of the day, back to the Royals and the Tigers. What are we doing?
Yeah, I mean, let's take a look at these numbers. Duffy hadn't started before. Duffy's been starting the last 2 years. He was back and forth in the bullpen earlier in his career. But the 2013, 2014, 2015, he was a consistent starter. He started against Detroit 7 times. Look at these numbers. 45 innings, 27 hits allowed, 8 earned runs. That's a 176 batting average against and a 159, a 1.59 ERA. Then look at this graphic with these 2 bullpens. Let's see. Tigers bullpen, they're ranked number 24 in ERA. KC, they're number 1. And again, there is not a more reliable player in his role anywhere in baseball than Wade Davis. Now with a 0.99 ERA over 165 appearances over the last 3 seasons. Yeah, I'm getting a plus price with the Royals. Count me in. Number 918, KC, plus 105. That's our play of the day.
Very good. Tomorrow, we're either talking about the Warriors as the repeat champs or preview a Game 7. It's coming up Friday on SportsBit. Betting Insight today on SBRPicks.com.